Hi, my heart and soul family. This is Crystal, and today I'm gonna speak to you guys about how the embarrassing way of how I learned how to cook. This is a highly requested video. A lot of people they've been asking me, Crystal, how did you learn how to cook? Well, I'm gonna tell y'all today. The way I learned how to cook, I was 17, and usually like I didn't. And growing up in the African home, a lot of parents they basically tell their kids to start learning how to cook early. For me, I was dodging cooking. I just didn't like anything to do with kitchen or anything to do with like standing there and learning how to cook. I just didn't have that kind of time. I just hated it, and I would put any excuse just to run away from the kitchen. So I kept doing that and doing that and doing that. And my parents would tell me, oh, come learn how to cook. Come watch how we're cooking. Because my dad knows how to cook, and so does my mom. And they'll say, come watch us learn how to cook and this and that. And I'll be like, oh, I have homework. Oh, I have a headache. Oh, I have my friend who has a lot of issues, and I have to be a good friend to her. Anything I could do to try to get out of that kitchen and just like have someone, my parents, make me something to eat. And that was like I was 17. So I kept doing that and doing that. And one day and then I would give my parents excuses saying, oh, one day I'll come. And my dad would just shake his head. He'd be like, this girl, you need to learn how to cook. Like, you can't keep making excuses. Until one day my dad came home from work early, and then my mom came home from work early, and then it was around winter time, so they came home from work early, and it was snowing, so they let people come home early from work due to the weather. And then my dad came home first, and he's like, I was like, Dad, I was like, there's no food. And then and he was like, well, did you check the fridge and everything? I was like, it's just snacks in there. And I ate all the snacks, and my siblings was looking at me like they don't have nothing to eat. And he was like, you gonna learn how to cook today? And I was like, oh, I have homework and this and this and that. He was so busy that he was just like, okay. Then he went to the room, and then my mom came back, and I said the same thing. She's like, okay, you really need to learn how to cook. And then went to the room. So I was like trying to and I was like trying to go to the kitchen because I knew that they would cook. One of them would cook. So I went to the kitchen to try to sneak and get water and run back to my room so I could pretend that I was sleeping just to avoid cooking. Oh my goodness, I got caught. So my mom was like, you gonna learn how to cook today. Well, actually, the way she said it, she was like, you will learn how to cook today. You're not running nowhere today, or you must learn. So I was like, but mom, I have headache. She was like, I know every day when we tell you to cook, you always have a headache, because I was trying to get away from it. So my dad came at the same time. He's like, yes, honey, you're right. She needs to learn how to cook. So I was like, oh my God. So my dad was right here, my mom was right here. And in my mind, I started thinking, like, when the pastors always say, where can you run for the presence of God trying to help you out? Nowhere. I was like trying to look around. They were like, you learn. So my mom had the spoon, and my dad had the gray pot. I will never forget that big gray pot. And my dad was like, start chopping up onions. I started chopping up onions. I was like, but Daddy, I don't want to do that. He was like, you have to learn, because when you have kids, how in your family, how would you learn how to cook and all that stuff? You keep making excuses every time. You keep making excuses. If we're not here, how can you cook for your siblings? How are you gonna learn how to cook for your siblings and all that stuff? So I was just like, but I don't want to do it. Started crying and everything. So my dad was like, you have to learn how to cook. You've been given excuses. And mind you, I really didn't have excuses, because it was snowing, and school closed down. So where am I going the next day? I could sleep all weekend, because they shut down the school because of the snow. So I'm not gonna do it. So they're like, no, you have to learn how to do it. And I was trying to get away, but then I was trying to like run away from the situation, but they were like, my dad took the spoon and he was like, start turning the stew, start turning it. I was turning it, I was crying, I was like, you guys are just wicked to me. Just crying. And they're like, no, you're gonna learn how to cook, you can't keep crying about this and making excuses and all that stuff. So I was chopping up onions, putting the sauce, the oil, everything, all the ingredients to make the stew rice. That's how I learned how to make one of the best rice in my family, besides my mom and my dad who could cook. But out of the siblings, I feel like I can make the best rice. Well, people always also tell me, my friends tell me. So boy, when I tell you I learned how to make rice stew. Because they were like, you can't escape, you cannot escape, you can't keep running away. Why you always run away? That's what my dad would always say. So that's how I learned. And he's like, one day you gonna thank us for this. And I was just crying, and they were like, this is tears of joy. One day you gonna thank us for it. And boy, when I tell you, I was like, leave me alone. And I was still crying and turning that spoon, turning it. And they're like, don't talk back to him. I became obedient and learned how to cook. So basically, I even though I cried that day, and I still ended up making the rice and stew, and it was good, it was decent. And then, well, my parents helped, so of course it was good. So then from that day on, when I think back at that day, I'm like, you know what, I'm grateful, because a lot of people, they don't know how to do it, and I was just like, had the opportunity to learn. And I'm grateful for it, because it saved me a lot of money instead of going out to eat or waiting for someone to cook for me. So I learned, and it helped me out a lot. I give recipes to people, my friends, and it just helped me out greatly. So I'm grateful for it. Those of you who don't know how to cook, they have apps, or if you have friends who could help you out, you could do it. But it's not that difficult. Don't make excuses. Don't be like me and start dodging and running away and having your parents start helping you out, and you're just like, ugh. So it's just my embarrassing story, because I was crying tears of so-called joy just to learn how to cook. But at the end, it was beneficial to my life. So that's all I wanted to say. Please don't forget to like, subscribe, share, comment, and click on the description link for your journey to happiness. I love you all. Later.